What does a pharmacist do? Well, most people might answer that a pharmacist dispenses the medications that my doctor prescribes. Now, I work with a ton of great pharmacists, and one thing that I don't generally see is excitement about pills in a vial. And this is probably because pharmacists have been trained to do so much more. So what can you get excited about in your community? To find out, let's go beyond the scripts. Hey, welcome back to Beyond the Scripts. I'm your host, Will Tuft with PioneerRx, and today we have another special guest. Now, one of the things that I love about talking to independent pharmacy owners is the many hats that they all wear. So while most pharmacists may also be, business managers and building managers and security experts and all of those things that it takes to run a business, our guest today is also a consultant, a speaker, a marketer, a media influencer of the social variety, and what I call a farm musician. I came up with that term myself. Easton Bryant, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's a huge honor. Happy to be here.
Honor is all mine. So you're joining us from a small town in Columbia, Kentucky. When I Googled your pharmacy, one of the things that I always do is I'll go into like Google Maps, and it's always just interesting to get an idea of the landscape that my guest is operating in because they vary greatly. But I had to really look for this one.
So I love that you brought up the word landscape. First of all, literally we have cornfields, surrounding our store. And I've made the joke different times in the past. You would think we were like huge Field of Dreams fans. It's like pharmacy in the middle of some cornfields, and if you build it, they will come. And took a long time for them to come, but some people found us eventually.
So, that's not terribly uncommon with independent pharmacies to be in a rural area. And in fact, that's where they're, sometimes needed most. But you're right. If you build it, they will come. I love that if you're in a community where, you don't have a lot of foot traffic, where you don't have, a stoplight and major anchor retail right around you, it's easy to fall into some of those old tropes that, that wouldn't work at our store, and, our customer base doesn't want that, and we can't do that. So I was really excited to have you join us today because you kind of blow all of that out of the water.
Yeah. So not only am I in a small town, but like I just alluded to, we're on the outskirts of a small town. And, in Kentucky, we go by counties as much as we go by cities because we have 120 counties. So the city population is like 4,000 to 5,000. City limits, we're on the outskirts of that. So our county population is about 18,000. We have 7 pharmacies. And then we have a mail order as well, of course, so plenty of competition. But to your point, from day one, I was like, we're going to do everything that other people aren't doing,
Yeah.
Backed myself in a corner a little bit and took that attitude with it.
So a lot to talk about, but I want to first learn a little bit about the history of North Century Pharmacy. So were you the original owner? Did you kind of joint venture into that, or how did that come to be?
Oh, this is getting interesting already. So one of those 7 pharmacies as of today is owned by my mother about 10 minutes down the road. So and my younger sister works there. So they're technically competition at this point. But originally my mother and then her 2 brothers that are also pharmacists who had some other stores in some other areas had an opportunity for this to open up back in 2014. I was still paying lots of student loans at the time, but I was interested in coming in as a partner. But they were like, well, we got this other store that your mom runs since the early 90s. So let's not create competition just yet. So I was like, all right. So gradually, after a few years, became a partner. And then as of last year, so April of 2022, I bought all of them out and I've taken over 100% at this point.
Wow. So both locations or just the single location? Gotcha. Okay, so you got mom up the street as competition. That's sometimes better to have your family close, but maybe not in the same building. I kind of like that. So yeah, small community, definitely some goodwill there with having those family ties, and assuming you guys probably operate almost like sister stores in some ways. So, yeah, at least with on the patient side, anyways.
Yeah. It's a nice resource.
Very cool. So, how is your location different than mom's? Like the old saying goes, this isn't your mom's old pharmacy, right?
Yeah. I mean, any way you can imagine, it's totally different. Um, they're right in the middle of our small town, kind of a staple, I guess you could say. Tons of foot traffic, and they very much follow the traditional model. And it's worked for them up to this point. Whereas on my side, out in the country, very, very little foot traffic. We have 2 drive-through windows, and they stay hot all day, and we deliver to 6 counties. So we've never been built on foot traffic. I love patient interaction, but it's also kind of nice in some ways. You can get some stuff done,
Yeah.
if there's not 6 people in your store at all times. We have a robust sync program. So I get nervous if somebody comes in with 5 bottles and they're like, hey, I want to wait here for these. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're going to wait for stuff to be filled, So that happens very rarely.
Yeah. That's one of the reoccurring themes we talk about so much is that, when you do have a patient with all those medications, even, any more than one medication, even just one medication, why are you surprised next month when they need it refilled,
Yeah, and in my mother's store, there's tons of people. They've been coming there for 30 years, and they love to go in there and just chat up with their staff, that's cool. But if you work there, it's like all day long, people are just bringing piles of bottles, and it's a totally different environment for sure.
Yeah.
They're comfortable with it. I'm not comfortable, when I go there. I'm like, oh my gosh.
So where you're at, you're probably doing, I would imagine, quite a few deliveries.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely makes sense to kind of have that streamlined, have all those medications going out at the same time. That's definitely something we see with those rural communities quite often. So, in the rural community, serving those patients with deliveries, but I feel like a lot of those patients in town may recognize you from their social media feeds. Super active on social media. That's probably one of the places where anybody watching this may be thinking, "Why do I recognize this guy?" You've probably been across his TikTok.
Not again, not this dude again.
So
I'm swiping right now.
So it's a great. I started following you. It's a great feed. It's TikTok at North Century Pharmacy, and you cover quite a few different things, but you do it in a way that's pretty fun. There are some internet fan theories I want to address. A little bit of web sleuthing. There's a lot of rumors out there that Sharon Jane's husband, another reoccurring character, Skeeter, another character in the woman's health videos. There's some fan theories that those are all actually you in costume. True or false?
I'll plead the fifth. I don't want to go off on another topic here, but I think they could be, like, if you put a wig on you, I think you could pass, actually.
I'll take it.
Some of your colleagues, we already had that conversation, so it's Will Tuft.
That's it. Internet fan theory number 2. It's actually me in all of those disguises.
Confirming nor deny.
So yeah, you're definitely bringing some great information, but having a lot of fun doing it, which is kind of the it's a razor's edge. It's hard to do that really well, and that's what makes like a social media, like one account do really well when another one just never really takes off. But I feel like you've got the right mix there.
Yeah, I mean, the word that I've been using for years and years is humanizing. People don't come to your pharmacy to see the brick and mortar, the wood and steel of your building. They come there because of the people, and that's really at the core of all this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely something to that. Authentic connection is what people, really, really crave. I find myself, kind of going the other direction sometimes, where if I go into a restaurant and it is too nice, right? If it's too structured, if there's too much corporate kind of promotion behind it, I don't trust it.
Yeah, and the other word is the big word for me is relatability.
Yeah.
It's so huge.
Yeah, that's another thing that I think you hit spot on is really bringing that patient education in a way that is, consumable for, different education levels, different age levels. So well done on the TikToks.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to hear is that, I've never heard it explained this way, or I've never understood it. And like, that's fuel for me. I love to hear that feedback.
Yeah. So, a lot of things you talk about on the social media videos. One of the things I noticed, some pretty interesting musical elements involved. So I saw a really nice Taylor acoustic, and then is that a? Tell me about the Thunderbird.
Oh yeah, the Gibson. I have a great story on that one. I never could take to a Les Paul very well, and I play left-handed, which is super weird and rare. It's hard to find lefties out there, but that's one of the few trades I've made in my life. I traded and came across a store that had a left-handed Thunderbird reverse headstock Gibson, and I was like, it's different. I'm gonna take it. So yeah.
Yeah, I saw that, man. So a Thunderbird's always been on my to get one day list. Yeah, and I've never seen a left-handed one. That's why I was looking and I was like, oh man, the pick guard's even on the right spot because the headstock on those is kind of backwards anyways. So yeah, I was wondering if you were doing the old lefty trick of just flipping the right hand over.
Well, the knobs get upside down, so your arm rubs if you're playing electric. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I found myself after watching your videos. I was like, maybe it's time. Maybe I should get a Thunderbird, man.
And so, man, if I could somehow play this to be a Gibson affiliate, that would be, that'd be next level stuff.
So you obviously have a musical element involved. Some of the TikToks have like some educational jingles, some.
I did a few that were like those Schoolhouse Rock. I called it Farmhouse Rock. Like little. I
love that. Yeah. Yeah, I saw the Farmhouse Rock logo. I was like, he better have a T-shirt with those because I want to order one.
I will take care of that for you. But at the core of all that is, that's one of my passions, and I think if you can find a way to tie your passions into what you do day to day, like that's a secret, right? I mean, that's what do they call that? That's your, where your passions and your skills intersect.
Yeah, there's a great name for that, and I can't think of what the term is, but it's gonna kick me on the drive home. So do you play music outside of the pharmacy? Do you have a band that you're going to play in a garage somewhere after work?
Not as much as I used to now. Some other things are kind of pulling me away, but yeah, I used to have a band. Or I had a couple of bands in the past. In pharmacy school, I played a couple times a week. Mexican restaurants and stuff like that, and I made more money doing that than I did working at a chain store as an intern. So started doing that during pharmacy school, and then when I got out, I actually had a band or two, and got some cool opportunities, but never lost touch of reality. I'm never going to quit my day job.
Sure. Did you ever
keep you grounded?
Yeah, man. Did you ever have the opportunity to open for a cool band, anything like that?
Yeah, got to play some festivals, which was always really cool because we were always like the regional guys. We would play at like noon, and then like the headliner would play at like 9 o'clock at night. So, but we were still like kind of on the bill, so we got to just hang out, all day long, kind of infiltrate that whole system. And
Nice.
got to play. Somebody asked me this a couple weeks ago, and I never had really been asked this, but like, what's your I don't know, claim to fame, or what's the coolest thing you ever did? And I got to play it. Tootsie's once down in Nashville, and another place down on Broadway down there. But, you don't make money doing that stuff, but it's cool to sit here and tell you that,
Yeah. So, any guest that I have on this podcast, if I talk to them long enough, or, I'll find that thread to pull, and it's like, that passion always extends to other areas and other hobbies and alternate career paths. And it's always fun to kind of explore what people are really excited about.
Yeah. And even patient facing, like people like to see you smiling and having fun, and when they can tell you enjoy what you do too, even from a business standpoint.
Yeah, for sure. So, one of the things that you do on your social media while you're playing guitar, while you're connecting with people, is educating about any number of different things: side effects, disease states, functional medicine, over-the-counter recommendations, so all kinds of stuff. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting were your supplements and kind of how you address that in your content, where you just kind of bring that understanding of why this is important, what this is going to be doing for you, and then your adherence packaging to really bring that pharmacist relationship into the picture. So I feel like you elevate it not only from, let me explain what this is, but then also here, let me share my expertise and build a kind of concierge service for you, which is really what Amazon can't do. And definitely if I have a relationship with the pharmacist, or really any profession, everyone wants to feel like they have an insider that's giving them the best, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I want to have a guy.
Yeah. I used to have like a publicly available questionnaire on our website, so you could come in and built it out. You could give me it took just a few minutes to fill out, probably no more than 10, but give me a good snapshot of what your goals are, what are your current meds, what are you dealing with, all that kind of stuff. And I can make custom recommendations. And once our following started picking up, especially around last spring of last year, got to be a little hard on the bandwidth. So I still use that sometimes. And I had a nice little way, had it worked out on our Shopify store, and then they considered it to be telemedicine, so I had to take it down. So I still love that, but it is time consuming. But I've come up with some other solutions to kind of help people cover the bases that they want to cover. But I think what you're alluding to is like, having that one-on-one approach, even with somebody that's across the country. I really enjoy that. And I still do it quite a bit. I do give people a heads up, like, hey, it might be a few days before I get back with you, but be glad to help you out.
Yeah, and even the ones that that you kind of have prepared, that you're not doing one-on-one with the person, but those packs, you had the detox program, all of those different things that you have in the adherence packaging really seem like, hey, I am getting this special product from North Century, and this is the guy on TikTok that told me all about it, right? So you get to kind of leverage that social media connection with a pharmacist expertise. So tell me a little bit about how those that unit dose packaging came to be, and how you decided to move that outside of the traditional prescription model and take that to OTC only customers.
Yeah. When I signed the intent to purchase that machine, I was like, what am I doing? Right. They're not cheap. So I was like, let me see how many ways I can use this thing, first of all. with supplements, you can ship those. We're only licensed in Kentucky as of now, and I
Gotcha.
don't have a lot of aspirations to get licensed in lots of other places. I kind of have a network that I'm building out to kind of take care of that on the prescription front. But we do ship out supplements all over the country all the time. And some of those things you were saying a moment ago, like the word that comes to me is value. And, so for example, I called it Easton's Foundational Five. So many people, I was getting so many emails, messages like, hey, I just want to know what to take. Like, pretty healthy, blah, blah, blah. What are some things I should take? I'm taking a one a day from Walmart. I know I shouldn't be doing that. So I built out kind of my core five, elements, and I started looking, and obviously everything we do is professional grade. So I tallied it up, $105. Then I was like, man, I really would like to include a different type of magnesium other than just chelated magnesium L-threonate, which is a little higher in price. And instead of just D3, I would like to have K2 in there as well. Talked a lot about that, so I'd like to offer it to people as well. So then I did the Easton's Foundational 5 Plus pack, $149. So once I kind of released those two options, like, hey, for some of you that may want more, like, have this out there as well. So I'll pose this to you. What do you think the percentage breakdown has been purchase-wise? The standard, the 105, or the plus, the 149?
So this reminds me of an article I saw yesterday where they were talking about the like decoy products where they have the large is $6, medium is $6, but the large is $7 and the small is like $3. And you're not supposed to ever, nobody's going to get the medium because it's only $1 more for the big one, for the good one. So I feel like that extra push, the conversion's probably higher on if somebody's already trusting your judgment to get the good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to say maybe 70-30.
Okay. And that was not my goal. I was just like, I don't want to leave this good stuff on the table that I talk about a lot. I was like, I'll make that offer. So, and I didn't think 149 was that close to 105, but anyway, 95% on the plus.
Wow.
Yeah. We haven't sold very many of the standards at all.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, well, and that's key is, if you're looking at making that purchase, if I'm already kind of, looking at Easton's recommendation, if you've already kind of established that trust relationship and I'm already sold on making a purchase, yeah, I want the best one he recommends.
Yeah. So that was unexpected for me for sure, but
yeah, it's always interesting when, pharmacies have those discussions where, our patients won't pay for that, or, it's sometimes kind of almost even like guilt at the pharmacy of making money or, offering those products. So it's neat to see that work where you have those options and people gravitate to wanting more and wanting the better.
Yeah. So, my staff pharmacist was tied up yesterday. I was working the bench yesterday and was checking a lot of PAC patients, and we had a run of them that were like, we're very easy to work with. So if you take 3 medicines, we'll pack your stuff, no extra charge. We'll take care of it. I had a run of tons of people taking like 3 generic meds, and I was thinking in my head like, well, I mean, how much more valuable is that $149 supplement pack versus all these prescription patients that we have in our program? It's pretty eye-opening.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the moving parts on those packages. So how does that work? What technology are you using? What products are you using? And how do you handle that on the retail side? Is it internet only? Do you have it in store?
Yeah, so we use Rapid Pack RX through RxSafe. We bought that back in 2020. And side note, we bought that we installed it in June of 2020. And you remember what happened in 2020, right?
Yeah, vaguely.
So,
it was all kind of blurry, but yeah.
Exactly. we got some good use of it pretty quickly with supplements. Actually, at that point, on a local level, we weren't doing much e-commerce at that time, but now we take orders from all over the place, and we put them in line. We go pick the orders. We do it all in house. Most people that I talk to, when I kind of talk about some of the scale that we're doing some of this stuff at now, they think I'm totally insane for doing it in house. They're like, man, everybody needs to be drop shipping. That's the way to do things. But we're a pharmacy. It's I understand, like some practitioners that may not want to keep a lot of inventory on hand, all that kind of stuff. But we do sell it in the store as well. So we do all fulfillment up to this point in the store, and also, if I wanted to do drop shipping, there's no way I could do custom recommendations and have custom packs built out. I mean, maybe I could, but that would be insane to do it that way. So creates a little, strain on the workflow with the staff. Sometimes they're like, why is everybody ordering this or that? Because it takes time, but we're making it work so far.
Yeah, so you have the Rapid Pack. Looks like you have a lot of the Pure brand supplements.
Not so much. So the way we do that is interesting. So now I have over 50 private label SKUs. And
Okay.
so, but 50 is a lot, but 50 is doesn't cover everything. So on our online store, you can basically import a CSV, and like we have Pure's entire catalog. We do carry several Pure things, but obviously I want them to buy mine instead. But having that catalog, we have everything on our site, So it takes, sometimes we have to turn around our order and get it in, which we usually get it in about 2 days. So it works out. And then, I've had other manufacturers reach out, and we may continue to build that out where we have more offerings from other manufacturers as well. But the Pure thing it's a good solution for now. So they don't have to leave our website and say, well, he doesn't carry this in his brand, so I have to go to another website. So that way we kind of keep it all under the same roof.
Gotcha. So if you can give away some of the secret sauce, I don't want you to get into anything too much this proprietary, but if you can share, tell me a little bit about that process on getting your own labeled supplements, and what does that look like? Are you buying those in individual bottles? Are you buying in bulk to get a better deal? How does that work from a business standpoint?
I've got my eyes on the bulk thing. We're not doing that right now though. And I don't care at all to share the companies that I'm working with. We're using, for 99% of what we're doing, private label, 2 companies, Zymogen and also Orthomolecular. It's not nearly as hard as people think it is to do that, and I think it's something that every pharmacy should be doing. I had a conversation with an owner a few months ago, and they were selling a decent amount of ortho in their store, and had no interest in doing private label because of that. And my number one question was this: how many times are those purchasers buying their second bottle from you? They're not going to get on Amazon. They're not going to go anywhere else in the country and find North Century Pharmacy products that they're buying from me. So it's patient loyalty.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been at, Lowe's or Home Depot mainly. I try not to shop, with my phone if I'm in a local business. But, how many times have you been at a big box store and you wonder, is this a good deal, or man, it's a lot of money. There's a barcode tool on my Amazon app. I can just scan the UPC and price check. And, that's got to happen, even if it's not out of loyalty, but just out of convenience. If you're not doing delivery in sync, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think patients even think twice about it. And even your most loyal patients, I think, do it and don't ever, they don't realize they're doing it. I think we all, as pharmacy owners, we have people come in and you're talking to them about their medicine. They're like, oh yeah, well, I get this at Walmart. I grab this and that at Walmart, and it's literally like right there beside them in our store, right? For like, it's something they buy from other places. And this is just a way to kind of seal that deal, not only provide the education, provide the value, but keep it in house over and over again. And going back, I've been doing private label for a few years, but going back to last May, that's when our social following really went to another level. It was always pretty strong, relatively speaking. But I did a particular video that I guess you could call it viral on a couple of platforms, and I ended up selling a lot of a non-private label product all over the country. And I was hearing about it from the reps in that company. They were like, "Hey," somebody in Michigan was like, "Hey, one of my chiropractors said that somebody came in their office and showed them this guy's video. Do you know him in Kentucky?" So I was like, all right, that's the last time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, why not attach that social media presence and keep that conversion, keep that loyalty. But again, it's a win-win situation because the patient again feels that value. And it's probably right at the same price point. It's probably when they're going to your pharmacy anyways, they're local, or they just like your social media and they have that authentic connection. But it's, it's a great value for both sides of the equation.
Yeah. So maybe to tie a bow on that, I got an email yesterday from a lady. She was I can't remember. She was in another state, but she was like, "Hey, here's what I'm buying. And I'd really rather support a local business versus Amazon." I'm not local to her, but she sees what kind of business that we are. And I said, "Great, I love it." So I get on Shopify, build her out a cart, and I build her out a cart of a pack. Because when you buy bottles, kind of going back to the whole pack philosophy, when you buy bottles, one might last you 6 months, one might last you 2 months, one may last you, depending on how you're taking it, 2 weeks. So even me, before we ever bought the machine, I had my little tray trying to be proactive, set an example as myself. And I mean, I would forget to bring an Omega home for 3 weeks from the pharmacy and take it, So you're making it easier on them, but they're also just buying what they need for the time that they need it as well.
Yeah. And, inevitably, if you're taking 4 or 5 supplements, it's only a matter of time before you're like, I'm tired of opening and closing bottles every day, right? So I remember I was in a pharmacy once that was very resistant to changing the way they did things. They didn't want to take on a MedSync program, and they said, our patients don't want that. And while I was there, somebody came in and bought one of those little pill organizers with 7 boxes. And I was like, trust me, they want MedSync. They want adherence packaging. Like they're going home and with the DIY kit. So they do want that. Trust me. So you reached out to these manufacturers. I guess that process when, they probably have a dedicated line, a whole system to support pharmacies. It's not like a strange call, like a cold call on those manufacturers most of the time, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think they would all tell you like they would rather you sell their label, but I can promise you that I'm buying a lot more from them selling my own label versus theirs. So I think they see that,
Yeah.
But yeah, they're definitely, yeah. Like I said before, it's not as hard as people think it may be.
So the next part of that is, so you have this great robot, you have these great products that you have with your own label so that you can buy a bottle, you can buy those prepackaged in the adherence packaging. You also have these beautiful labeled boxes that have your company branding really part of it. So not only are you buying the products, but it also is buying that something special that is unique to this pharmacy that I'm taking home that somebody's going to see on the counter and say, what is that? So tell me a little bit about the packaging that you use.
And even with the bottles, I think about that sometime when I have one of my own. Sometimes when I have one of my own bottles here at the house, it's I'm like, these people from all over the country. We ship internationally as well. There's people in other countries seeing my pharmacy name every morning, or it's pretty cool to think about. But with the boxes, that was an interesting journey because I love branding and all that, but a lot of times when you see those boxes, this is kind of my take on it, and I share this with other owners. Sometimes they're pretty loud. It's kind of like a billboard, like, "Hey, look, we're Century Pharmacy." Like, here it is. Well, I was working with a graphic designer, kind of had him on a retainer doing some kind of special projects for me, and I sent an image to him of what someone had mocked up for me, and I was like, "Hey, this is cool, right? This is awesome." And he was not impressed. He was like, "If you don't mind." He's like, I love working with packaging. He's like, I would love to take a stab at it. So ours are very subtle. And he said, he compared his approach to Apple, like minimalistic, clean. He's like, this is going to be sitting on somebody's bathroom counter, kitchen counter. Like, you don't want this to be like this loud billboard looking at them every day. I mean, realistically, how many times people don't have 50 strangers coming in every day where you're going to be advertising to all these people? Like, you want it to blend in with the landscape of their home, and where it just kind of flows within their home that way. And I've shared that with other owners and kind of given them tips to even like, hey, let's tone down that green where it's not a lime green, it's like jumping out, which maybe that fits into someone's house. But, if you can make it kind of subtle and something that just flows within the room and wherever they have it, I think that makes sense. So I really like ours.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things I noticed. They're good looking packaging, and like I said, if it were bright, obnoxious colors, that's probably not something that I want on my bathroom counter. I'm going to unpackage those when I get them home, right?
Stick it in the cabinet, whatever. Yeah.
Right, but then it's it's out of sight. So am I going to forget? So where did you find that solution? I know there's a couple companies out there that are able to do that custom printing. I know there's pharmacy automation supplies out there. Was that it? Folks over at Pass?
Yep. And I have a little promo, so if anybody wants to go through me, I can hook them up. They're great to work with. Yeah. Okay. I think they have a great price point too.
Awesome. So the next part of that whole thing, because I thought that was really interesting how you have that set up on Shopify, first off. So I want to talk a little bit about the online cart. And then how has that changed the inside of your pharmacy from your mom's pharmacy up the road? Do you have those packages ready to roll on the shelf? Can you buy those off the rack or?
No, there are ways to do that for sure. But ours all have the patient name, customer name, and dating on them. So they're all, I guess, sounds like fast food, but I guess made to order is what you would say on that. So we make them on the spot. I don't know if that makes sense or not for us to do it that way. I ask myself that a lot when I look.
Yeah, I was wondering if that's something you guys like kind of prepackage. If you go up on Wednesday evenings and that's your pro pack night, and then we do. I was kind of wondering about the logistics of workflow for that.
I think they're only good for about 90 days.
Gotcha.
After you do package them anyway, which of course you could still make that work, but. Anyway, that's where we're at on that. And I love to hear, the machine for us, if you looked up the store, it's a small store. So it's kind of in the same, we have this one big room pretty much other than the compounding lab. But I love to hear the machine running. I mean, people, when they come in there, it kind of changes the whole dynamic. I mean, it's a little loud, but it sounds like productivity is going on, and people come in and they're just like, oh, wow, it's busy in here today, just if the machine's running.
Yeah, I thought I heard I thought I heard you mention that in another podcast. Maybe it's the one with Lisa Fast, where you mentioned those pneumatics. I remember when I was an installer, you'd go to the pharmacy and you'd get all the machines working with the software and everything. And you're right, when you hear those pneumatic sputs and sputters in the background, you're like, yes, that's productivity. So, how do you think that that has changed kind of how your pharmacy works with the online marketplace? So having your Shopify set up, do you think that that's something that is kind of a just kind of like a part of where we're at in 2021, 2022, 2023? Do you think that's going to grow or kind of just a trend? And then how has that affected your financials at the end of the year? Are you seeing, what percentage do you think is in store versus online?
Yeah. So you're asking still about the packaging or just the online market in general?
In general, yeah, I'd love to hear about your success and failures too. Those are always fun on in the online marketplaces. Yeah, well, sometimes hearing about those could be the most helpful because you can help avoid somebody else avoid making those same pitfalls. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as far as the pack piece goes as well, like you can go on our website and build your own. You just type in, we're North Century Pharmacy, kind of go by NCP, and then so we call our packs NC packs. So you type in FOR, NC pack, and you can see all the things you can build your own way. So I think that's a differentiator as well. And that's something that I find myself talking about a lot. In our industry alone, we're being commoditized more and more and more. I sell the same lisinopril as the other 6 pharmacies in my small town, and differentiation is so much better than commoditization if you can do it, and that's one way to do it for sure. The online stuff has been one of the brightest spots of our online presence, the growth of our following online for sure. I'll say this: I have a goal of hitting $1 million in e-commerce in annual sales, and we may not hit it this year, but I'm going to aim for that, and I think we can maybe get close this year as well. And not to diverge off into content creation, but everything we've done so far is organic, and that's what's so encouraging to me. We haven't even started using paid ads for supplements and online sales. We haven't even started utilizing our email list. We do some drips of, if you've bought from us before, we'll follow up with you, or if you have an abandoned cart, some of that stuff. But we're not using our big email list to market to people. Yeah, we just haven't made it a priority because the organic stuff's kept us really busy. So I mean,
wow,
the percentage, like you said, I'm excited to see what it could be.
Yeah, I feel like if you're getting the traffic that you're getting organically, I feel like there's a lot of room for growth there. So that's really exciting. Yeah. So outside of making TikToks and having that Shopify account, having those supplements, you've also got some other great things going on. Some of the things I saw on your website were pretty exciting. You have the NC packs, of course. You have the relationships with your Kentucky teachers, and then, of course, want to talk about the program that you have with other pharmacies.
Yeah. What do you want to know?
All of the above. Tell me all about them. So tell me a little bit about the Kentucky teachers first.
That's just a landing page for some niche products. That's a huge payer. Any state is going to be your state employees. Actually, I think some states, they may divide it up different ways, but in Kentucky, it's all under the same plan. So it's just a big population, and sometimes we find some nice niche things that are good for us and good for them as well. So more or less just kind of a landing page to connect with them. And, it's on the prescription side of things, but we can do, paid ads and target that. I mean, it's a little creepy. And we've talked about TikTok, but actually Facebook is where it's at for us.
Yeah.
And people forget about Facebook. They're like, oh, it's all the old people. Then you're like, you have a pharmacy.
Yeah. Well,
that's actually, for us anyway, I guess everyone's story can be a little different. But man, Facebook it's not even close as far as the impact it actually makes on our bottom line and our business.
Well, yeah, they're kind of different purposes. Like I'll go to TikTok just to scroll for entertainment, and then I go to Facebook for like organic connections of people I know to see what they're up to. So it's kind of two different purposes. So if you're able to kind of slide into both of those DMs, that's a that's a good spot to be.
Yeah, exactly. And TikTok is fun. I guess you could say it's like the sexy thing now. It's like it's the newest. It's cool to resonate with that crowd. It's like your 21-year-olds. Also, 21-year-olds are broke a lot of times. you know. And then for me as well, just from a bandwidth standpoint, I put the same content on all platforms, and I know that if I really wanted to just make this my 100% full-time job, like I would probably be very strategic about different content, different platforms. I just do the same thing across all three, and knowing that some stuff's going to resonate better with others.
Yeah. So outside of the social media, tell me about the RX Grid.
Yeah. So last May, and from a number standpoint, like we were at 5,000 followers last May across our three platforms, which, relatively speaking, pretty strong. We picked up some followers from outside our little area. And then, so last May to now here in February, we're creeping up on 175,000 followers. So what happened with that growth so quickly was I'm getting bombarded with people from all over the country. Like, hey, I love what you're doing. I want to do business with you. California, I'm like, well, crap, where were you in 2014, first of all? But then I started connecting, people who were reaching out to me via DMs or email, whatever, calling the store. A lot of times I had a relationship in another state already, and I was like, hey, here's somebody you can work with that I know can do what you're asking me about. Then that became to be like half of my workday, like repeatedly, and I was like, oh gosh. So I'm doing all the legwork and kind of setting the ball on the tee, and I love networking with other pharmacy owners, but that's how it came to be. It was like, I think that there's a way to make this, kind of a network to where I can connect. Kind of my tagline is connect proactive patients with proficient pharmacies. Nice. It's been really fun.
So you've got about 17 states currently?
Something like that. So we have multiple owners in some states. So it's somewhere low 20s as far as how many members we have right now. Mm-hmm.
Nice. So what does that mean if you are one of those members, or if you're curious, like, man, Easton's got it going on, I want to work with this guy. How do we, how do you make that connection, and what's that look like? What's the, where's that growth? Do you guys do like a conference call?
Yeah.
Every, so often, or?
Yep. And it quickly grew into a lot more than what I really had in mind. The clickable map was kind of the foundation of it, to where, okay, you're in whatever state you're in, you can click on your state and connect with a pharmacy there, that I work with personally. But I realized, like, just the community aspect of it, like, it started becoming much more than that really quickly. So that's kind of the foundation of what it is. But yes, monthly Zoom calls. We have a whole, like, it's like a private labeled Facebook, basically. So I'm all about private labeling. So it's like a branded social network. We're doing some in-person retreats to where we get around to have a roundtable mastermind. So if people ask me what it is, I'm like, I don't really know. It's like a consulting referral mastermind network. I'll drill it down one of these days, but it's just like, it's just a place to bounce ideas. We have a very, very active, like, WhatsApp thread where every day there's tons of conversation going on there. So it's cool. It's been cool. And it's a place for me to learn as well. I mean, I did this very sneakily, but I've made myself the dumbest person in the room, kind of built this thing around me. But yeah, so anybody that wanted to connect, thank you for asking. They can go to therxgrid.com, and there's a tab at the very top that says Pharmacy Owners, 60-second form, and then you'll hear from me directly.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So we're just about out of time, but I want to hear a little bit about what you think the future holds. Where we headed 2023, 2024, either as a as a profession, trends, or, as your store specifically, what do you want to focus on?
Oh man, so many things. And I'm a victim. I'm a victim to shiny objects.
Yeah.
So bad at that.
Same.
So many ideas, so many things I want to do, and I have to really question myself sometimes. Like, is that okay? Is that really the smartest thing to do right now? So, um, anyway, for us, more of this stuff that we've talked about today for sure. And even the owners that I talk with, like, I think everybody should be doing all the stuff I'm talking about, but I don't expect everybody to try to, because all this stuff's time consuming. But it's giving to me, it's fulfilling to me, so I don't mind it. But I've challenged them to say, I've told them, what if you did, if I give them a number, like, we did this in e-commerce. What if you did 5% of that? Like, that's stuff that could pay some bills, and change the presence and branding of your pharmacy too. So I think everyone should be doing more of this stuff and just make it a priority. And I know it's out of comfort zones for lots of owners, but I mean, if you have even 5 employees, a lot of times there's one person that would enjoy doing that, and you can kind of empower them. The owner doesn't have to be the face of a pharmacy per se. But as far as where it's going, I mean, I heard one of your previous guests recently say, filling scripts is just giving us access to people. That's what it feels like more and more. A good friend of mine texted me yesterday. He was talking about losing $150 on 90-day brand scripts. And my response to that was like, it feels like they're coming at us with guns blazing. It's a war zone out there. And I think the writing's on the wall that we're not going to be just dispensaries of prescription drugs for those that are going to keep going.
Yeah.
So the common thread with all the owners I'm working with currently is like everybody's leaning into functional medicine, and that's what resonates with our online crowd is like getting to the root of the cause. Band-aids, like, I mean, if I can promise you, like, we would not be succeeding with our online presence if I was like advertising lisinopril, metformin, and all these, pharmaceuticals. Like, people get mad when I bring up a pharmaceutical. They're like, "Oh, you're trying to poison everybody. You're trying to kill people." Because in one video, like, metformin is being used for longevity. People are taking it as a supplement, and I made mention of that and how, like, metformin is not the end all be all for most people, and like, man, the haters came out of the woodwork. Like, how dare you tell somebody they can take metformin? So that's not where it's at, I promise you.
Yeah.
But it's helping people find solutions. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to wonder if there's, at some point that visibility of the current pharmacy reimbursement landscape has to kind of run its course and become a little bit more friendly to the practitioners in that space. But maybe with the visibility of DIR fees in 2024, maybe that'll help with at least increasing that visibility. Maybe is the first part, right? That awareness of those practices. I think more and more it's been behind the scenes and kind of behind the curtain where patients didn't really know, and I think now it's hard to tune into any news feed and not be aware of what's going on, at least a little bit more comparatively.
Yeah, and that resonates from a content standpoint too.
Yeah.
I try not to be negative and like just talk about that only, but like pull back the curtain a little bit and be like, last week I put up I don't do many static posts anymore. I do mostly videos all the time, but I put up a static post that we did we had a $12,000 drug we dispensed for a patient. We lost, I think it was $45 on the claim. Then, that was minus all our overhead. And then we delivered it 20 minutes away for free. And then that people really, they're like, this is ridiculous. People know that it's a mess right now. And I mentioned too, I just joined a mastermind there's 18 of us. I'm the only pharmacist, and the rest of them are functional medicine practitioners. And I think the way forward is really forging more and more relationships with providers. Coming in as the only pharmacist, some of them were kind of like, you could tell they thought that all of us worked at box stores behind the glass and just, make sure the pill looked like it's supposed to. And I started explaining to some of them like, hey, pharmacy to dose is a thing. And I explained that the whole idea, and they were like, "Are you serious?" So, we have to put ourselves out there, forge relationships, and I never try to get out of my lane, and never try to play diagnostician, but just to give people things to think about and hook them up with the right people, or just give them ideas can be life changing. Honestly, it can.
Yeah. Just educating and sharing your experience. So many people try to be stoic. You don't want to complain, but there's a point where it's advocacy, where you need to share that experience so that people understand what's going on in that landscape. I know Louisiana is kind of a mess right now with some recent contracts here where we're at. And that's something that gets down to the point where patients feel it and see what's happening. And I feel like that's probably where you get some change. And same thing with practitioners. When you explain how you can affect change, how you can affect their readmission rates, all of a sudden, now you're tapping into their value system. And you're really able to kind of show how you can, demonstrate your own value in that ecosystem.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you get back to work, man. It looks like I may have kept you there at the house this morning. So
it's all good. That machine will be too loud in the background.
Well, we'll see if we can add some of those in post. So, well, thanks so much for joining. I'm going to go watch some more of your TikToks. Go shop for some Gibson guitars online.
You can text me. I'll give you a promo code.
Sweet. All right, man. Thanks so much for joining us. I'll see you soon.
All right. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Beyond the Scripts, presented by the Catalyst Pharmacy Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please support our channel by liking, subscribing, and clicking the notification bell so that you'll be notified anytime we post new content. To stay up to date with all of the latest independent pharmacy news and content, follow PioneerRx on your preferred social media platform.